Paul DuPont, you are talking about basically Giuliani and him calling for war and death to Iran.
Right, well, not just Giuliani, but Giuliani and Benjamin Netanyahu. So they both found themselves in Poland at a conference that was ostensibly for Middle East peace, but basically was attended primarily by Israel, its allies, and a particularly cult-like extremist Iranian group of exiles, made up of the former MEK, or the Mujahideen-e-Khalq. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, or the People's Mujahideen. The group is trying to sort of rebrand itself, and they're going under a different name, which I'll have to try and find here, but it's a much less innocuous sounding name. They're trying to rebrand as more centrists, moderates, you know, the reasonable people that could be leading the country of Iran. So Rudy Giuliani, which he noted after speaking to this group, noted that he was paid to speak by this group.
Money in politics.
Money in politics. But he said major change in the theocratic dictatorship in Iran must take place. It must end, and end quickly, in order to have stability. So again, this is him being paid by this Mujahideen group to declare that the current leadership in Iran is a theocratic dictatorship. So one of the members of this group, the MEK, has basically declared herself, her name is Rajav, Myram Rajavi, has essentially declared herself the president-elect. I don't know how you get to declare yourself a president-elect when there wasn't an election, but that's what she's declared herself. So basically they're trying to institute, you know, basically make the underpinnings for this new government that could take over.
Sounds depressingly familiar to Venezuela.
Yeah, it's another regime change concept. So the interesting thing that came out of this was shortly after the talk, Netanyahu was outside and made a few comments in Hebrew, which translated as, what is important about this meeting, and it is not in secret because there are many of those, is that it is an open meeting with representatives of leading Arab countries that are sitting down together with Israel in order to advance the common interest of war with Iran. To which basically diplomats in Israel went, ooh, you can't say that. You can't say war. And very quickly, Ofer Gendelman wrote that the Israeli leader had described the nation's common interest with Arab nations as combating Iran, not war with Iran. What's interesting, though, is the original video that he put on Twitter was subtitled in English. That video was deleted, and his comments in a tweet were changed to say war with Iran, to changing that phrase to combating Iran. But he originally said it out loud on video in Hebrew, and people who are Hebrew speakers can say, nope, that is the word for war. That's not the word for combating Iran. That he said war with Iran. That's what he said.
War.
So the internet is written in ink. That's there. It's real. He really said it. And that's a diplomatic issue at the very least for Israel. I mean, he's showing his true colors. That's what they want. They want war with Iran. They want to take down that regime. They want to install a favorable government in that country. And
remember the last time we did a regime change? It was in the 1950s. We got rid of a national government that was elected by the people, representing the people of Iran, and we replaced it with the Shah, a dictator who was basically a friend to the British and American oil companies. And the end result, well, the people revolted, and they put in a government of their, well, basically an extremist government. But there's reasons why that government happened in the first place, because there was a dictator that was put in charge that wasn't putting the interests of the people first. It was putting the interests of foreign investors and the corporations that were basically there, taking resources away from the people of Iran. So look, haven't we learned our lesson from Iraq? Haven't we learned our lesson from Afghanistan, Syria, Libya? Every time we do these interventions, wars, it costs more of our treasury, more American lives, and it's also going to kill millions of innocent civilians. Look, we can be critical of dictators and extremist governments, But if we are going to have a policy of constantly invading, blowing up countries, the end result is we're always going to be there. We're still in Iraq. We're still in Afghanistan. We have the military-industrial complex foaming at the mouth, angry that we're still that we're not having more involvement in Syria. Look what happened in Libya. You could say whatever you want about the former government of Gaddafi, but at least there was some order. But now what's happening? There's a slave trade happening in Libya. It regressed backwards. It didn't go forward. There's not a democracy there. It's a lawless land. And now the United States is talking about going to war with Iran and also doing regime change. Same thing like in Venezuela. I don't think we would like it if somebody decided to say, well, you know what, the current government in the United States is illegitimate and this person is now the president of the United States and the current government is no longer legitimate. We would be upset about that. We wouldn't like that as Americans. So this is where, again, we have to step up and get involved, because if we constantly keep on voting the same neoliberals into office, neoconservatives into office, we're going to constantly have more wars. Paul, you want to add a note on this?
Yeah, this is one of those things where you mentioned, like, when will we ever learn this never works? Look at Iraq. The problem is it sometimes works. Look at Libya. Like, that was a pretty quick encounter, and we toppled that government. Hillary's famous for saying, we saw, he died. Yeah. Right? Very empathetic there.
But she's a progressive who gets things done.
We've been doing this. We did this throughout South America for decades and decades. There have been numerous places where we've been able to go in and successfully, we successfully did it in Iran, right? Yeah. In the 50s. This is one of those things where it sometimes works and we get what we want in an illegal way, and we are never held to account for it, because who is ever going to challenge us on the world stage? And when it does work, it doesn't actually help the people of America. It's really only helping
the top 1%, the military-industrial complex, the fossil fuel industry. Yeah.
And when it doesn't work, it still helps those people, because it's helping weapons manufacturers and it's helping the military-industrial complex as a whole. Right. So whether it works or not, it doesn't really help the American people.
Yeah. And again, think about the cost of human life too. Not only are we putting our American forces in danger, but also numerous innocent civilians, because as soon as you drop a bomb, it's just not going to say, oh, wait, there's a hospital there, I'm not going to hit it. No, there's always collateral damage, and then constant people are left suffering. We got to be smart about this.
And often hospitals are the target.
Yeah. In fact, right. Majority of the time, hospitals, schools, and numerous other civilian buildings are targeted. And it's just disgusting that we have, it's not only just it's not only Trump's administration, but this was going on under Obama's administration, Bush Jr.'s administration, and numerous other administrations, Democrat and Republican. It's constantly being, interventionist policy and trying to have a government in another country that's going to only uphold American interests, not American people's interests, but the American government's interests, as well as the lobbyist groups that are buying off our politicians. This again goes to money in politics. We keep talking about this, but I want you guys to remember, so long as Citizens United and McCutcheon's decision hold sway over the land and control our politicians, we won't get anything done. We'll still have a neoliberal, neoconservative a government that's only going to work for the top 1%. Wall Street, the big banks, corporations, the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, you name it. All right, and the Democratic establishment and Republican establishment, they are friends with each other because they know those same people. So I'm still speechless about this, and I'm concerned. And the only way, again, we can make an impact is if people, the average citizen here in this country, step up. And that means protesting, that means calling up your representatives, and that also means running for office and also holding the media accountable too. And I know we're all busy and we got a lot of things to do, and life is pretty stressful, but we got to make time to step up and fight for a better future, because if we don't, we're going to constantly continue to be in more wars. And it's
even someone who is as perpetually wrong about damn near everything as Rudy Giuliani is. He's an action like this, he's not going to take almost any heat for it, except for people like us, because this is the international cooperation between the United States and Israel, basically for the sole purpose of maintaining hegemonic power within the Middle East, keeping every non-friendly state under the thumb of American and Israeli power in that region.
Yeah.
And while we can look at specifically Netanyahu's statements at this peace summit, where he literally is calling for war with Iran. He's saying these are the people and our common goal, war with Iran. Oops, did I say war? I'm not supposed to say that. Oh, diplomacy be damned. Like, no one's gonna take much heat for this. Everyone's gonna be like, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to talk about war with a country that Americans vaguely don't like, but don't remember why they don't like. It's really frustrating, which we'll compare and contrast this in a minute to outrage about other politicians who say things about Israel. But that said.
All right. Hey, did you like that video? Hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up icon, and also hit that ring bell notification so that way you guys know when we have more content up on the Hardlens Media YouTube channel. But Paul, what else can people do to help us out?
Keep watching.